Live. I hope everybody is doing well today. Jason Wilmot here. It is November 1st, 2022, and this is the Mastering Funnels podcast number 15. Now, I have to say right away that I apologize for not doing this more regularly. Ever since we moved, I started skipping, or I skipped a week, or then I got sick, skipped 2 weeks, did a podcast, and it is hard to get back on the horse. Now, fortunately, I'm excited to be doing this again. And today, what we're going to be talking about is engagement farming. That's a term I've come to use. It's a term I've come to really like. And what we're going to be talking about today is how to increase your engagement farming with content marketing. So, hello to those folks watching already. And if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Happy to address any questions that you may have. And then thank you to those who are listening or watching this after the fact. Most people do that actually, or they see our content cut up online. So just want to say thank you for all of that, the love and the encouragement that I should say I get, but also we get just by comments and questions and all of that. So just thank you for all of that. No, still don't have a studio built, but I'm working on it. Hopefully that's done in the next month or two. But there's a lot to talk about today, and what I want to do is just give this enough time to get into a few things. But really, what we're going to be talking about today is content marketing. So when I'm talking about engagement farming, I think it's just a nifty little term to basically kind of understand what the role of content marketing is. So I've lived in the land of paid ads for a long time. And the reason why I like paid ads is because you get somebody to click, to buy, to download, to do something, right? But we've sort of expanded our offerings at HACKTICS, and now we are getting way more into content marketing. One, because we just see it working for our inbound leads, right? People, I hear this all the time now of Jason, we see you everywhere. See you all the time, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's on TikTok, or we're on multiple channels. And so I think that's sort of one of the things that I want to talk about today. But really, there's four main things that we're going to be talking about today on this podcast. In terms of engagement farming, one, what content do I or do you need to use? So, what content is working? Two, where should I put this content? Three, who needs to be in the content, or what needs to be in this content? And then four is how to distribute the content. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And again, one of the main reasons why I'm just circling back to this content machine is because it was a missing piece in everything that we're doing. So when we're working with partners, really it's three main tiers. One, we're helping them set up their data infrastructure, so that we know what is working on every single front. What is leading to more downloads? What is leading to more phone calls? What is leading to more purchasers? Or buyers. That's a much easier word to say. Buyers, right? So you have this data infrastructure, and then what you can do is you can use ads to drive their KPIs. You can use paid ads because it's very easy to track and you know the ROI of that. But what we were missing was this content marketing play. How do we be everywhere? How do we make content for folks? And then if we find that the market likes a specific content piece, well, then let's just put the means behind it. So really, this has been, a really interesting play that we've been kind of working with for the last 6 months. And now it's just starting to flesh this out. So much so that we are building a service around this content marketing, a specific standalone service that I'll be probably talking about in the next few weeks as we start to bring that to market. But we'll be using content marketing as well as paid ads and, of course, data in order to launch that. And it's probably going to be launched on TikTok in the next few weeks or so. So, yeah, really excited about that. I won't give away too many more specifics on that, but I'm probably going to get into that standalone service here in the next few weeks. But anyways, let's talk about engagement farming. So engagement farming, I don't have a definition for it, but let's just assume that we know what the concept is. We're putting out content to keep people's attention on us, on our brand, on a product, on an offer. But the nice thing about content is you don't always need to be selling, right? When you're creating ads and you're creating hooks and calls to action and all of this, those are the elements that you absolutely have to have in an ad. But not everybody's ready to buy. Not everybody wants to buy. Not everybody wants to hear you pitching them all of the time. So how can we then keep these people, right? How can we stay top of mind to our audience while delivering value. And I think that's really where content marketing is. And you don't have to be selling all of the time in content marketing, especially if you're just putting out micro clips or little bits of value. What you're doing is you're just staying top of mind and giving them value. And so what I want to do is just kind of dive into that, like piece number one of what content should I use. So what content should you use? Well, I really think this depends on your audience. So the content that we found useful is things like this, right? How can you go, right? Really, this is a systems question first, because content, let's face it, is really hard to do. It is hard to put out a constant stream of content if you're doing this on your own. It's really, really, really hard. Even with a team, it's hard because after we put out this podcast or this live stream, what the team will do is they'll have to find the good little cuts that we can turn into posts. Then we have to transcribe it. Then we have to add captions. Then we have to QA it. Then we have to look at it again, put all the pieces together, QA it again. We have to write the copy, and then we have to post this, right? So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of post production. Let alone capturing the content is hard enough. So really, what we're trying to do in this section of what content do we want to use, it's got to be educational. It has, or it could be entertaining, but at the end of the day, what it needs to be is just valuable. And last week I did not do a podcast, but the time before I did a podcast, really we got into value. And what does value look like in content marketing? Well, value looks exactly like this. It's understanding where your customer or where your client is and where they want to be. They are in a current situation and they have a desired situation. What you are doing, marketer or content creator, is creating valuable content that helps them connect the A to the B. They see you as the bridge. So if you can put out content that is valuable to them, then they are going to see you as this trusted source to get them from A to B. And no, it doesn't have to be right then and there. It doesn't have to be like next week. Content marketing is a long play, and that's what we're seeing over and over and over again. But what we're doing is we're trying to create valuable content for this. Maybe it's educational, maybe it's entertaining. Obviously, it's not humorous on my side, but what we do, the last time that I was on here, I did a 30-minute presentation on how to understand and map out funnels with the software, right? That is definitely not like, hey, click now and buy. But what that is providing value to the people. But really, I know the audience. It's businesses who are trying and failing or struggling to scale up with data, with paid ads, with digital marketing. So what I want to do is I just really want to hone in and understand that audience and then continue to provide value for them. Now, this could be generic. It could be a very niche down. Some episodes could be very, specific, and some could be wide like this. I'm speaking to a lot of folks. So really, what sort of content are you needing to create? Well, really what you need to do is understand the market. So, the way that I would think about this is this. So in ads, we have something called top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. Just think about this according to your offer, right? Top of funnel is kind of thinking, it's sort of the brand awareness. People have never seen you, never heard of you. They're not going to buy from you on this very first time, right? They're just coming across you for the first time. This middle of the funnel is where most of the folks live, right? They've checked out your brand. They're not ready to buy specifically, but they're sort of just engaged and they found some value. And then there's the people who are really at the bottom of the funnel. Really, maybe these people, you've spoken to them on a phone call. Maybe they've come to your website. They've checked out this thing. Really, they are the hot buyer. What I've found to be useful insofar as creating content marketing is really speaking to that audience in the middle, that middle of funnel. So let's say that they are aware of your solution, or at least they're in the market for your solution. So they probably are looking around at other competitors, and they probably just, out there gathering resources. When they log on to LinkedIn, they're probably going to see content that you are putting out, or whether it's on TikTok or YouTube Shorts as well. So what you're really trying to do is you're trying to understand, well, what is the audience that I am targeting? And then where are they sort of in this funnel? Because I think good middle of funnel content will ultimately speak to the people at the top of the funnel, but it'll also speak to the people at the bottom of the funnel. So really, you're trying to kind of speak to this middle of the funnel sort of audience. And again, you're trying to entertain them, you're trying to educate them, you're trying to just understand where they want to be. And if you use that analogy of this A to B, somebody's over here in this current state, they have this desired state over here. And if you can be this value bridge, then you're going to really it's just going to be easy for you to talk about. Like, I know people most of the time when they come to me or they come to our team, they're struggling with data or they're struggling with scaling, right? They can't scale because they don't have the data infrastructure to understand the ROI, or they're just getting started and they don't want to spend their money without well, they don't want to waste their money. They don't want to waste their ad spend. So they need this digital infrastructure. They need somebody with ad buying experience in order to, promote their brand, right? We just had a really solid company reach out yesterday that said, hey, we need to spend $50,000 in the next month. Can you help us? Right. And the reason why I know that we can continue to provide value for them is, one, I have trust and confidence in this, but how are they going to get probably warmed up in between now and the phone call? Well, they've seen our content, right? They've just seen steady streams of this content out there. So what I would do is I would not hold back in creating content. You know exactly what is valuable to your audience. I think the question is, how do you capture that, right? So we have some clients who we'll go live once a week like this. They'll be interviewing people. They'll have this dynamic conversation. It'll kind of be a live stream, kind of be a podcast. And we'll take that content and we'll cut it up into little bits of pieces. There's other folks that they might only they might create like a video once a week. Maybe it's a 5 to 10 minute video. What we can do is go in and sort of grab those little bits of pieces and then recycle them and put them back on the internet. So what do I mean by, what sort of content? I think it's understanding how can you have this production, time frame in your day. Maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's 1 hour a week, maybe it's like 45 minutes a week like we do, right? Because we are just so slammed at the moment that this is the only time that we really dedicate towards capturing content. So that's how I view it. I view it as, how do we capture this content? And then there is this content production piece, and that's really what takes the bulk of the time. And then it is more towards the content distribution piece, and that's really, in my mind, that's where we leverage software and systems more than anything. So I do need to move on. So that was sort of what content do I use. Now, this next part is where to put the content, right? And I think this is really interesting. And this obviously, let me say this. The people that I'm speaking to right now are the people who are going to be creating content with video, right? I know that there's blog writers out there. I'm not speaking to you at all. I appreciate you. I've come from a history of writing blogs. I understand it. I understand the importance of blogs. But for this case, I am speaking mostly in terms of video. Why video? It's because you can take this video right here, right? I'm broadcasting right now to Facebook, to Twitter, I think, to YouTube, to Twitch, and to LinkedIn, right? I'm going live on all of these things. Video is really the way to just think about all of this content. And I see more people joining. Thank you, guys. If you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat, and I'll get to it here in a second. So what I'm encouraging you to do is just think through how to leverage video. And video is important because we can capture it, we can cut it up, we can create really tiny little micro cuts. But here's the most important part. Remember, the title of this podcast is engagement farming, right? So we have to engage with people with where they are. And where are people now? For better or worse, they are on social media consuming video. And with the explosion of popularity of things like TikTok or things like Instagram Reels or stories, what we can understand from the general public, like I said, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, is that we have short attention spans. And the best way to get in front of somebody and engage them is with short form video. Now, should we also create long form? Absolutely. This live stream will live live on our YouTube channel. What we'll probably do is we will take this live stream, we'll probably cut it up into, 15 little micro cuts. We will have several mid-form cuts, which are 3 to 5 minutes. So probably a couple 10-minute cuts. And so what we're trying to do is let me back up. What we're trying to do is we're trying to meet people with where they are, but we're trying to put out multiple pieces of content on each platform so that each platform becomes its own mini funnel, right? So if you find a short form video, that might lead you to a mid form, or the mid form might lead you to a long form, where you're just going down sort of the funnel. So instead of thinking about, I need to get people into my funnel, into my website, right? This is more, how do I leverage the content platform as a funnel in and of itself to then push people down to my website, right? Because people aren't ready to, if people are just flipping on their device for 5 minutes, maybe they're walking, maybe they're talking, or they're doing something, they're taking a break. They just want to get content. They just want to take a break, look at something. We all do this. Again, whether this is good or bad, it's probably bad for humanity on the whole, but yeah, what we're doing is we're putting content where people's attention already is, right? And that's why I'm not bashing on any blog writers, but it takes commitment to go read a blog, right? If I had, right, if I think I can have your attention for 45 seconds of the day, but I get that every day, I'm going to deliver video to you. That's what I'm just going to do because I think it works. So I'm going to, where am I going to put this content? I think that is another point. So where to put the content is where people's attention is. And I think at the moment, it's TikTok, it is Facebook, it is Instagram, specifically short form content, right? So it's Facebook or TikTok Reels, it's YouTube Shorts, it's on LinkedIn, maybe, right? It just depends on where your audience is. We have a ton of referrals that come from LinkedIn. All of a sudden, they started, they didn't start 5 or 6 months ago. But they've really ramped up in the last few months just because we've continued to put out this content. So yeah, it's understanding where the attention of your prospects is and is already, right? And then it is meeting them where they are. And you can't just meet them where they are with ads all the time. You can meet them with content marketing where they actually might find some of this content useful. I about said that my content is useful. I don't know if it is, right? But the market can decide that. And here's why I do like these video platforms as well. And then we'll move on to the next piece. Why I really like these video platforms is because that they have this ability, it is built in and baked into their system to determine what are the good quality content pieces that you're putting out. Think about TikTok for a second. You upload a new video to TikTok, you're probably going to get 200 views guaranteed, right? But what it's doing is it is in the algorithm of TikTok is to push this content out to viewers and to test whether the content is quality, right? If there's engagement, if there's people watching it, then that is going to then share with more people. Like that, we have these platforms that are going to test the content for us. And so what we can do is we can leverage them to really identify the quality content for us. And then if that happens naturally, guess what? Let's just put money behind it, because money is the thing that is going to put this into front of more people. And we've already leveraged the algorithm to determine that this is actually quality content. So this is really where it all comes into play. But yeah, so where do we put the content? Well, it is where people's attention already is. And if they're not on your website, that's fine. You don't have to put all of your content on your website. You can put your content where people are. And people are on social media platforms at the time being. All right. I think we're going to go on to what needs to be in the content. So going to some of the questions here, and some of them are just expert level trolling, so I appreciate that. But let me move on to this. Because I am running a little bit short on time. What needs to be in the content? So I think this is hard, to tell you the truth. So what needs to be in your content? Specifically, let's talk about short form video content. Let's imagine that this content that you're putting out is 30 seconds to 1 minute long and no more than that. Well, it depends on how you're filming this content. Maybe you're going to film 10 hooks, and then maybe what you're going to do is have this piece that comes after the hooks. And what you can then do is sort of just understand, do I need to be cycling in different hooks for the same pieces of content? And do I put that out? In this case, we're not going to be cycling through different pieces of hooks, right? We're just going to take the short form pieces that might come out of here. Maybe there's 5 decent things that I've said in this whole 45 minutes, right? Or there's 10, or there's 15, or I don't know, right? So it's picking those out. So if you're going to just pull it out, and if you're going to, let me say that again. If you're going to identify video content and you're just going to take this content and you're going to, oh, sorry. Hey. Yeah. Well, that's a light for now. Um, the joys of working from home. You just have kids walk in and start start talking. One second. Well, there we go. You know, kids, not a bad thing. Anyways, okay. So what we were talking about is what needs to be in the content. So let me back up here. And so if you're sourcing your content like from a live stream like this or from a short form video, you're not going to be able to cycle in different types of hooks and stuff like that. And that's okay. Again, we are engagement farming. We're just trying to put out content, right? We don't have to get them. We don't have to hook them. We don't have to just continually be pushing them to the website and buy, 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 buy. What we can do is we can just continually stay in front of them. So I don't think you have to have these heavy calls to action in everything that you're doing. If you look at somebody like Alex Ramosi, which I definitely would suggest you to do because that's what we've built a lot of our content machine off of, he doesn't have calls to action. So you don't always have to have calls to action in every single marketing material, right? If you're running ads, yes, you better have a call to action because that makes sense. If it's content marketing, maybe you don't need like the super awesome hook. Maybe what you need is just to stay in front of people. I think there's a difference here of content marketing and volume, right? It's the quantity, it's the spectrum of quantity versus quality. And I think this is always a good thing to just be living around. But I think about it this way. I think volume is more important than quality, to tell you the truth. Because in volume, in quantity, you're going to understand, well, what actually turns into quality. I would way rather put out 30 posts versus one post, right? Just because people are going to see it, they're going to find it valuable. Hopefully, one of these things is valuable. But like if you're just putting out one piece of content, that's kind of a crapshoot, right? Not to say that that can't work, right? Look at YouTube. The people are doing it very, very well on YouTube. So this is all dependent upon you. But what I want to do is just give you kind of a flexibility of like, this doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to have a call to action. It doesn't even have to have a good hook. What it needs to be is at least valuable though. And we covered that earlier. So let's talk about this last. Let's talk about this last point that I have, but there are a few questions. Let me address that one. So, how often should you publish content? That is one question coming in. I was going to ask the same thing. What about top, middle, bottom, and content? So we did cover top of funnel, mid funnel, and bottom of funnel content earlier, but just as a reminder, when we're creating content like this, I'm mostly thinking about this as middle of the funnel, right? You're just kind of, I feel like I'm more comfortable talking to people in this middle of the funnel format rather than trying to like pitch somebody who's never heard about our brand before to like try to get them to do something. That can work in ads, but in content marketing, I just don't think that that's probably it, right? In content marketing, what I am thinking of, somebody swipes over in TikTok or somebody comes to the YouTube page and they start scrolling and just looking for things, right? When they're doing that, what I think you're going to find is sort of this middle of funnel content is going to work generally for everybody, right? It's going to work for the people who are coming and just seeing you for the first time. It's going to definitely work for the people who are at the bottom of the funnel who are, ready to buy but haven't yet. So I think that middle of the funnel content is certainly the best, where you're not really having to twist people, or twist arms or anything like that. But I would say they're like, listen, like something that I should definitely say is like, I live in the land of experiments, and I feel like everything that we do is most of the time an experiment, and all experiments have an expiration date. So maybe middle of the funnel the content won't work. Maybe it will work. Maybe you need to focus on top of funnel content. It doesn't matter. Just do it and figure out what works, right? What I don't think you need to do is have this perfect plan of coming up with, oh, it has to be middle of funnel content because that's what Jason said. No, like put out content. Maybe it's top of funnel. Maybe it's middle funnel. Maybe it's bottom of funnel. But at the end of the day, what you need to do is just put out the content and understand what the data is giving you, right? Maybe it's garbage. Maybe I put out 95% garbage. Maybe it's 99% garbage. I don't think so. But you know what? If I have that 1% of gold and that lands with somebody, then that's what I'm going to keep digging into. So yeah, maybe you can, maybe you can make different styles of content and just test. I think that's the most important part. One of the things that I think a lot of people, especially marketers, and myself included in this, we're just like, oh no, am I going to ruin this sale? Am I going to ruin this deal because of the content that I put out or something like that? No, unless you're saying stuff like Kanye, right? Then I think you're going to be fine by just putting out content, because ultimately people don't really care about you. They don't care about me. They care about themselves. So if the content that I can create helps them to think through, how do I improve my own situation to get from A to B? Well, then my content has done the work, right? I think a lot of us are just too shy to put out content because we worry about what other people think about us. They might think about you, but one, it doesn't matter what they think about you. But two, they're mostly thinking about themselves. So hopefully you can help them where they're trying to go. And they're not going to be, how do I say this? They're not going to be not thinking about you. Well, they're not going to be thinking about you if you're not putting out content. That's what I mean. So put out some content, see how it lands, then iterate from there. Good question there, Chris. Jose, how often should you publish content? This is a good question, and I think this is going to be the last thing that we talk about, and that is how to distribute the content. So we've talked about capturing the content, and I think that is like a chore in and of itself. It is a chore until you figure out how to do it. I like doing this. I like going live, and I like providing value. I don't like sitting and thinking of all of this different sorts of content and struggling about how do I create this? How do I put this out? How do we film this? And that's what I used to do. I just really struggled with this. I found something that I actually really like to do. I get to engage with people. I get to get this content kind of done in a short window. And I have this rapid feedback mechanism, which is comments and inbound calls and all of these things that show me what is the best content to be making. So I really like it. So Jose, the last question, and I think this is important, is how often should you publish content and how do you distribute the content? So I'll go through that. So I think the important part that we should first talk about before we talk about distribution is why I think video in this matter is king, right? We talked about how to use video. Why to use video? Well, video, because we can distribute to so many places. Like we can take this and our team can cut up, let's say a 35-second clip. We can put that on Facebook. We can put that on Instagram. We can put that on Twitter. We can put that on YouTube. We can put that on LinkedIn, and we can put that on TikTok. We could put it on Rumble. We could put it on all of these other platforms, because what we're doing is we're just taking this one piece of content and then now we're multiplying it. So I think the distribution process needs to be thought through in that lens. How can I take this one thing and absolutely magnify it as much as I can? I want to amplify this, multiply it, magnify, I don't know, one of those fives, right? But what you want to do is you just want to put it in as many spots as possible. And ideally, you're making one post a day, right? I think that is the main thing here. So the frequency, how often should we be posting? I would say once a day, right? One, because the algorithms like that at least, but two, your followers like that. They want to continue to consume content from you. So I don't think it's bad to go like more than, I don't think there's a limit to how often you should be posting. I mean, we have a client where we do roughly across all platforms, 25 to 30 posts every single day, right? Imagine that. Imagine what you could do with your brand if you had 30 posts every single day living out there on the internet. And not just images, not just like these static things. It's video, dynamic video that is going to get views then, and it's going to get views every single day after, right? Think about that. That is the power of content marketing. That is what we've been pushing into, and that we've really found and this is a gold mine for, I think, a lot of people, because this is where people's attention is right now. It's on video. And how do we get in front of them without really asking for a 10-minute time commitment, right? This is a 35-second sort of clip. We're in, we're out, you're on your day, but we are on your mind, right? That is the thing. Or our clients are on your mind, whatever, right? So we're doing this obviously internally for ourselves, but we're then also doing this for clients as well. So I think the how often is the more, the better, right? The more, the better. But think about it this way. Think about the multiplication aspect of all of this, right? One piece of content can actually turn into 6 pieces of content if you are doing this well, right? Because you're posting it to multiple pages, right? So if you film, I don't know how long this will be, 35 minutes or something like that today. If we film this, what we can do is then we can cut it up. Let's say we have one clip. Let's say we have 10 clips. Let's use easy math. We have 10 clips. We can put that on 6 different platforms. That is 60 different pieces of content, right? Then if you're thinking about If you turn this into audiograms, well, then all of a sudden that's 120 different pieces of content. If you're recycling this over and over and over again with things like Twitter, you're resurfacing some of this stuff. Well, then now you're talking about a lot more posts every day. So again, I think this is a game of distribution at the end of the day. You have to capture it, you have to produce it, but then you have to distribute it as well. And those are really just where we're playing. And so, yeah, there's this. Let me give one final plug to those who are watching and those who are listening. Oh, good. Last question. Do we put UTMs on all of our content? That is a really good question. So it depends, right? So, if you're using, so the question is, do we put UTMs on all of our content? The answer is yes and no. So one of the things that we can do, so we use a scheduling tool called Publer, and Publer, there's a ton of them. There's a ton of scheduling tools out there, but one of the things that Publer does allow us to do is hook up a custom URL. So we can post through our custom URL, and that gives us a decent tracking ability. But here's where I think the UTMs are actually better placed. When people view our content, typically you have one route to learn more, and that is through like the link in bio. So think about TikTok this way. If you go to the link in bio, then there is somewhere where you can click, and that brings you up to our link tree. Or in this case, we use something called Shorby. Same thing, right? But we do have UTMs in every single one of those. So if you're clicking through to our website from Linktree, it'll show the UTM. So it depends on where you need to put these UTMs, right? I would think like it just depends on what game you're trying to play. So UTMs, you're always thinking about conversion rate optimization and how am I moving the needle that way. So if somebody does click through from a video to your landing page, well, then you have that UTM information. The problem, though, that I think is the case is, if somebody's watching a YouTube short, if somebody is watching this on TikTok, there's not going to be a link probably in the video itself, right? They have to sort of navigate. And that's what I was talking about earlier, where, we're trying to treat all of these platforms as their own unique funnel. And so I think the UTMs have to live in your link tree. Do they have to live in your videos? Not necessarily, but if you do want to track the performance of every single post, that's where I think a tool like Publer comes involved, where you have this custom domain that you're posting all of your content from, so that if there are backlinks, all of that is just baked in for you automatically, so you don't have to go cook up UTMs on your own. So that was a really good question. So the last thing that I'll put out there is this. So we are working on a product actually at the moment, a service where we are taking folks' content and we're cutting it up and we're doing this whole process for them. So I'm going to be probably talking about that in the next few weeks, but really what we've identified is where we can really drive the value for customers. And that is taking content that they have produced and it's cutting it all up for them and it's handing them back. Or it is going the extra mile for them and saying, hey, we'll post these all for you. And then if we are actually in charge of that, what we're doing is we're looking at this performance marketing aspect of, well, what is actually performing amongst this content marketing? And then what we're doing is we're taking our know-how in the land of paid ads and then putting money behind the videos that are actually driving the most engagement. So it's been really fun building. I'm sure it's going to grow into something that maybe is sort of on the roadmap for us, or there's probably going to be more opportunities, down this line. But I just don't see video going away. I don't see social going away. I just see the need for content marketing as always being here, and I'm in a hurry, along with all of our partners and our team to deliver and make something awesome. So, all right, that's that. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. If you're watching this after the fact, truly appreciate those folks who drop by to say comments. Thanks for the trolling too. I appreciate that, guys. You should see this profile picture. It is not. I don't know how this is living on the internet, but hey, didn't get flagged yet. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the team who is cutting up this after the fact and then redistributing this. We know it works. We know we're we have more leads than we've ever had, and it's a great problem to have. It's a good type of stress. So, yeah, just want to say thank you to everybody who has watched, everybody who's engaged. Thank you for the comments today. Thank you to those who listen, and thank you to the folks who watch after the fact. So, have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. Take care of one another, and I will see you in the next episode.